How's it going, everyone? We are up here in San Jose filming our B2B content marketing training program, and we wanted to talk a little bit about Mirage content.
Yeah, so we published the post about Mirage content a few weeks ago, and it was received really well, probably because everyone is tired of reading Mirage content.
I know I am.
Yeah, but there were a few people that asked the same question over and over again. They said, now hold on, is all beginner level content a Mirage? Because you guys are saying that's high level, not good for the audience. I've written beginner content.
I have as well. And we're not saying that all beginner content is Mirage, but instead of talking more about this, we wanted to show you an up-and-coming clip from our content marketing training program.
Yeah, and that we walk through 2 example beginner level content in a screencast, and we dissect them. One of them we're saying is a Mirage, and the other one is beginner level content that's definitely not a Mirage, and it's really good. So I think that'll answer the question really well.
Perfect. Well, let's show them this clip.
Let's start with an example. So this poor unsuspecting blog post. So the first thing I want to do is scroll through the whole thing. So let's take a look at it. So if we look down, it's about this long. Right? So I would say this is probably about 1,000 words-ish.
Pretty standard blog post,
Article.
maybe even a little bit less.
And so let's look at certain parts of it. So it's about tips on improving your AdWords campaign. So my first reaction is, whoa, that is a massive subject. Multiple books have been written on it, and there are multiple entire blogs on improving your AdWords campaign. Entire blogs, not single articles.
True, but let's even take a step back and think about who you were if you were actually reading this article.
Yeah. And
so improving implies that you've already done AdWords,
right,
or you're already doing AdWords for your company.
Yeah, exactly. And so get in the mindset of somebody who needs to improve their AdWords campaign, right? So presumably you may, if this is something that you would be writing for as a B2B company, you may be selling some product or service. Either you're a PPC agency or something, or you have some AdWords software product or something else in that space. So let's look at the headlines next, the headers.
Okay.
So choosing the right keywords. Okay, there's a little bit of if not a red flag, the flag is at least orange here. Because anybody who's done AdWords before doesn't really need to be kind of told that keywords are important. And if we look at the length of that section, look, you can fit it in one screen, a blown up screen here. So it's like, 20 sentences long or so. And so keyword research, again, entire books, I don't know if entire books have been written on it, but possibly.
But entire blog posts or guides.
Huge guides have been written on keyword research. Huge. And so it's covering keywords here, right? And similarly, improving your campaign, which I thought was the subject of the entire article, is now covered in 3 additional paragraphs. And then making use of data is the sort of the last section. So I think, and we're trying not to be sort of, mean about it, right? But we're trying to actually just make an important point, which is there's some disconnect that's happening here, right? And so we're already getting the feelings of it. Let's look a little bit more. So let's look at the intro paragraph and see what the hook is. A well thought of AdWords strategy, search strategy, will surely give you an edge among your competitors. I would say that falls into the high school intros type thing.
Definitely.
Because anyone who's improving their AdWords campaign, you really need to tell them that your AdWords strategy is going to give you an edge. That's why we're doing AdWords. It's 2017. It's not like 1990s. And so we know AdWords gives you an edge. That's why we're doing it. That's why Google is a multi-billion-dollar company, right? So if you've been doing, and then the second sentence is telling, if you have been doing AdWords search campaigns for some time, so they're targeting.
Yeah, so this outlines who their target audience is. They're targeting people who already have experience doing it. And so the rest of the post kind of doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, if you already have experience, do you need to be told that you have to choose your right keywords? I mean, even the intro to this sentence, one of the most basic things you can do is looking for the right keywords to use.
I think if you're already doing AdWords, you probably already know that you need to choose the right keywords. And even if this was a point, choose the right keywords is important. I would want to know a better process or what I'm doing wrong right now and how to actually improve this.
Yeah, and so we won't belabor going through the rest of it. I mean, it continues, right? So in the data section says you can make use of data that was produced by studying the data, right? So I'm not really sure what that means. And then it says, look in Google Analytics. So it has a 5-step process to look at, to link some accounts to Google Analytics. I guess that's marginally useful.
So I think what's important to talk about here is we're not saying this article is a Mirage because it's targeting maybe people early on or people who don't have a ton of experience in AdWords.
Why?
Because it's just too high level. It's not, you can still write really great content for beginners, but it's actually not adding value to a beginner. For me, I might be considered a beginner in AdWords, except I still know this stuff.
Yeah, I'm absolutely a beginner in AdWords. I maybe have spent $14 in AdWords one time long ago when I was a kid, and I thought that was the only way to drive traffic to a business, right? But like, I know about keyword research, right? And so, but the beginner topic is a good one, because when we published our Mirage content post on Grow and Convert publicly, we got some feedback that, well, wait a minute, are you guys just saying any high-level topic, which by means like intro, anything for beginners is bad? Because that's not true. Like I have this and that example of this thing I wrote for beginners and it did really well for this company. And so that is a piece of, like pushback that we've gotten on Mirage content.
Yeah, and we're definitely not saying that. I think there's a lot of good content that you can write for beginners. And why don't we just show people an example?
The Noob's Guide to Google Webmaster Tools. So it's about Webmaster Tools. But to conclude my point, let me scroll through this. It is pretty massive. It's one, unapologetic in who it's for, so that crosses your checkbox.
Yeah.
Right? It says here, like, the title, it's the Noob's Guide to Google Webmaster Tools. So it says, this is an introduction. The first section header is like, here's how Webmaster Tools works, right? Adding it, and it goes step by step. How to add it, how to configure it to your site, crawler access. I mean, it could be a tutorial produced by Google for Webmaster Tools.
Definitely.
And when you're learning any new piece of software, like all of us have used guides like this. When you're like, okay, you're learning this new thing. How does this work? And you Google it and you run into it. Then of course it's useful. So but look at the length of this. So I think
tons of detail, real examples, screenshots.
Right.
You can really tell these people know what they're talking about.
Yeah, and so what I was saying earlier, when you're trying to squeeze in a high-level introduction to a topic, any topic in like a short article, 1,000-word type length, I think you're doomed. This is an example. They didn't do that. They had to produce a long guide with multiple screenshots. And to be honest, I think they also are sneakily following the specificity strategy and are more specific. It's not really just like everything about Google Webmaster Tools. It's really more about like a tutorial step-by-step on how to set it up.
I think the key difference here is they're thinking through, if I was starting fresh on Webmaster Tools, I'd never set it up, what would I need to know? Like, what are the key facts? What is the step-by-step process that I would need to follow? And then they're adding some color, some real examples, screenshots, etc.
Yeah, so these two examples have a few sort of lessons to them. First, if you're going to write beginner content, that's fine. But make sure you check two boxes. One, make sure that you found, by doing the user research that we outlined in detail in Module 1, that in fact, these beginner level questions are pain points and questions that your real prospects and customers have. Two, if you're really going to do that, make sure, if you're going to write an article, make sure, even if it's a beginner topic, that you're at least sort of specific to some beginner level question. If you're just going to do an overall guide on some big subject that books have been written about, be prepared. It's hard to squeeze that into an article length. You probably need this sort of mega article or a kind of like full-on guide length, right? This is very big, very long. And so those are the two things that I would recommend here for how-tos.